Take a moment to find a comfortable posture. You need to kind of wiggle around a little bit. Find something that works for you. You might try putting your attention on the spine for a moment and letting it straighten and lengthen. You might tilt the head down just a bit. And lift up through the crown of your head. You might pull your shoulders back just a bit. Find your way to a steady and stable place. You might take a deep breath and slowly exhale. Maybe one or two more of these. The body and the mind are two sides of the same coin. And when the body quiets down, the mind tends to follow. So tonight, I'll guide us through some metta. And if you have your own metta practice that you like to do and can connect with, it's okay to do that. And just let my words fade into the background. You can also follow along with me if you like. Metta is the positive wish for you or another being to do well. Do something along those lines. And I'd like to start tonight by doing metta for ourselves. The Buddha said that you can search the whole world over and not find one person who is more worthy of metta than you. So that's a good place to start. And the form of metta that I'll offer tonight is in the form of phrases. Phrases offered as a means to raise this positive intention towards ourselves and later towards other beings. So you might try and offer yourself a very sincere wish for you to be happy. I'm sure you want to be happy. I want to be happy. Everyone wants to be happy. See if you can just offer that wish to yourself. May I be happy. May I be happy. May I be happy. May I be happy. Just offering those words with just a very sincere intention. May I be happy. If you'd like to continue on your own for a bit, you can keep offering yourself that wish whenever the mind wanders or the intention grows stale. May I be happy. So now we might shift a little and bring to mind someone you have positive feelings for. This could be a benefactor of some kind, it could be a good friend, just someone you can wish well towards with some ease. And if it helps to bring this person to mind, you can add some color to the scene. You can make it a memory that's positive for you. You can add movement or sound. Sometimes when I'm doing metta for someone, I like to imagine myself giving that person a hug. So just as you extended this very sincere wish to be happy towards yourself, you can extend that to this person as well. May you be happy. This person that you care for, feel positively towards, may you be happy. May you be happy. May you be happy. You can continue on in your own time and offer those words again whenever it feels good to you. If the mind wanders or you need a little bit more energy to your feelings, just wish this person well. May you be happy. May you be happy. Now that you've wished this dear person well, you might let them stand to the side and make room for someone else. You might bring to mind someone that you don't particularly feel much towards one way or the other. You don't feel negatively about them, but you don't feel particularly positive about them either. This could be someone you don't see too much. This could be a clerk at the grocery store, a person who brings your mail, a colleague at work that you don't really interact with too much. You might bring them to mind too. And just as you want to be happy and your dear person wants to be happy, this person wants to be happy too. If you like, you can wish that for them. May you be happy. May you be happy. May you be happy. May you be happy. You might continue on in this way if it feels good to you. May you be happy. And if you'd like, you can ask this person to step to the side to make room for someone else. If it feels okay to you, you might bring someone to mind whom you have some negative feelings towards. Maybe not someone who is going to generate a lot of negative feelings. Maybe just someone you have a slight aversion to. You might bring this person to mind and know that this person wants to be happy too, just as you want to be happy. Your dear person wanted to be happy. The neutral person wanted to be happy. Just as everyone else wants to be happy. And sometimes people don't understand the path to happiness in a way that doesn't cause harm. But this person wants to be happy too. And perhaps you can wish it for them. May you be happy. May you be happy. May you be happy. May you be happy. If it feels good, you can continue with this person. You can also bring your dear one back to mind if that feels better. Whoever you focus on in the moment, you can wish that they be happy. May you be happy. Let's make one last shift and change our focus from either the dear person or person we have some negative feelings towards. Let's see if we can bring to mind all beings, everyone on this planet, all the animals and plants, just every living being. All beings want to be happy. Why not wish them happiness as well? May all beings be happy. 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 Thank you all for meditating with me. All right, so tonight I'd like to talk about metta. I think everybody has a different way of seeing metta. So I wanted to kind of share my understanding of it with you all. It's often translated as loving kindness, which I think is a pretty good definition, but it doesn't quite get there, for me at least. You have love, which points in the right direction, but to me, love has the connotation of romantic love, something with attachment, and metta doesn't have that. Metta is kind of no strings attached feeling. And so you also have kindness, which is also a good word for metta, but the kind of thing that feels off about kindness for me is that kindness is at least somewhat transactional. So kindness is something that I can do for you, or you can do for me, and metta can be that way too. I can do metta for you, as we just did, but to me, metta can be broader as well. Metta does not need, it doesn't need a target, and it doesn't need someone to do metta. It can just kind of arise. It doesn't need to be pointed at anything, which is not something I would associate with kindness. So if I had to pick one word for metta, one English word, I would use the word warmth. Warmth can be this like open feeling towards anything. It can be towards a person or towards nothing at all. It can just be this open, welcoming inclination of the mind. And that's how I see metta. You can think about your life kind of as a path from experience to experience that's moved about by different forces. So your life might be traveling in one direction, and anger might move it in one way, or greed or anxiety or fear. And they might all move your life about. And metta is kind of the counterbalance to those forces of self. The fear and the greed and anger. Metta moves in the other direction, I guess is the way I would put metta. So if you have the kind of forces of self that are the forces of separation, the things that take experience and break it into pieces and say, this is me and this is something else, and I have some feeling about this other thing. If that's the force of the self, metta is the thing that brings everything back inside. Metta is the welcoming movement, the movement towards wholeness or completeness. So that's what I think of metta. And I like to think of it in that way because, like in contrast with the self, because I think it points right towards the end of practice. So if the point of the Dhamma, the point of our practice is to be able to kind of see through this illusory sense of self and to be able to act in the world without that sense of self, practicing metta goes right to the heart of that. And I like that way of thinking about metta. So if we want to kind of get a feel for that, what metta might be at the end of practice, kind of in the full flowering of metta, we can look to the suttas. I'm going to read a piece from my favorite sutta in all the suttas, which is the Metta Sutta. I won't read the whole thing, although it's the Metta Sutta is fantastic. If you're going to read any sutta, the Metta Sutta might be the one to read. So the Metta Sutta starts, "This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness." So to me, that means someone who's far along the path. And it goes on to kind of show what that might look like. I'll read this quote. Wishing, in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they're weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so too with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will. Isn't that a lovely picture? That sounds wonderful. It's definitely an aspiration, I guess. My lived experience is not 24/7 feeling like a mother would feel towards her own child, all beings. That kind of points where to go and gives us a nice kind of pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So that's metta, and that's what metta can be like. I wanted to mention a couple of misconceptions that sometimes people have about metta. And I've had both of these. And, there was a fair amount of suffering around these for a while, and you all may not have these misconceptions, but perhaps you do, and perhaps I can spare you some suffering. So for, I guess, a large period of my practice, I didn't really feel like I had access to metta. I could sit and I could do the phrases and I wouldn't really feel anything. And I recall being on retreat one time and going into the interview with the teacher and telling her I thought I might be broken. And because I couldn't do metta. And of course she gave me some kind of reassuring answer. And I've heard other people say that too. But it turns out that minds don't work that way. Metta is an inherent capability of all of us. Even if we are in a position where we don't feel like we can feel kindly towards another, it may be blocked in the moment, but we're still capable as a human being of doing metta. I guess the analogy I have is, this makes sense to me, is imagine you have like a big kind of salad bowl, right? And you fill it with water, and the water makes this flat surface, of course. And so you put that bowl to the side and you get another bowl. But in this bowl, you kind of upend a glass in the middle and you fill the salad bowl with water. Now the water isn't this smooth circle, it's got a hole in the middle where the glass is. And so you might imagine that somebody who knows nothing about how water works could come up to this bowl and say, maybe this water is just donut shaped, maybe this is just how water works. But to somebody who understands how water works or the mind works, that doesn't really make sense. You just pull out the glass and the water becomes this flat, smooth surface. It's the same way with the mind too. If you are in a place where you feel like you can't do metta, it's just because the sense of self is blocking the metta. It's not anything inherently wrong with you. And if you remove the sense of self, the metta will naturally be there. So no one is broken. Everybody has the capability to do metta. And the other misconception that I've had is that the purpose of metta, or the qualifier of a good metta sit is the feelings, like the lovely feelings, and that's it's completely understandable. The feelings that sometimes occur when you're doing metta are very lovely and very nice and very clearly something you want more of, but really what you're looking for when you're doing metta, or let me say it a different way. If you do metta and you have the intention to wish yourself or another being or whoever well, that's enough. That is sufficient. You're doing something good in a way that will improve your life and the lives of those around you. And so it's nice when the feelings come along too, but it's not an indicator of a bad sit if you don't have feelings. The feelings of metta. I think maybe if you take away anything from my talk, it would be those two things. Like no one's broken, and you don't always have to have the feelings when you do metta. It's okay to just have the intention. So we can talk about practice too. So the metta that I led us through is one of kind of two traditional routes of practicing metta. So that was from the commentaries, one of the texts written after the Buddha spoke, and kind of commentaries to what he said. So the method of phrases that we did is not the method that the Buddha taught, but it's still a good practice. And you can do that the way we did that. You can use different phrases. May you be at peace. May you fully awaken. May you be free from suffering. May you be at ease. You can do different people. You can do different orderings of the groups. Which kind of different permutations you can do. And there's also a way of practicing metta that is taught in the suttas. I think Dhammadipa likes this one. It's radiating metta, and I won't walk us through it here. But basically, what you do is you get the metta going, and you do kind of generate the feelings, and you radiate it out to different directions. And there's various permutations you can do with that too. I will say that's a little more tricky than the one we did, right? It can be. There's also the added benefit with that kind of metta that the feelings kind of stabilize. So you have a stable anchor, and you can put the mind on the feelings of metta, and you can use that as an access point to jhana, which is another type of meditation. So I will say I have practiced both of those, but I generally find that a bit dry, and that's just me. And people definitely do their metta practice with the traditional routes, and that's a good thing too. But for me, I find metta is something that's a lot more alive. Like it really kind of lends itself to interacting with the world, where it kind of comes up naturally. In a way that doesn't feel forced or anything like that. So I would say most of my metta practice has been kind of out in the world. So I wanted to maybe share a little bit about how I do that, and maybe that will be helpful to you all. I've heard metta compared to jazz sometimes. in that there's a lot of variation that's possible. It's like concentration practice. There's not so much variation that you can do, and it's helpful to go kind of the prescribed routes. But metta, you have a lot of leeway to do kind of what feels right to you and what motivates you. So you can play around with it a lot. One way I think of practicing with metta kind of out in the world is just kind of getting in tune to the natural oscillation of the heart, right? So we go about the world and we very naturally come across something, maybe a person or a situation, and our heart just opens without any kind of effort on our part. That will persist for some time, and then it'll close down, and we'll see something else, and it will open again. And there's this very natural ebb and flow towards of our heart towards the world. And the way I like to practice is just when the heart is open, just kind of linger there and put a little bit of extra energy and intention and attention onto that. You don't really have to do much. It's quite surprising how powerful that can be if you're just sort of diligent about it. The analogy that comes to mind is swinging on a swing set, right? You kind of push off at the beginning, and you don't really have much momentum. But if you apply force by swinging your legs at the right time, you can really get quite a bit of momentum going. I think about practicing out in the world in that way too. Just a little bit more effort when the heart is open. It seems to work pretty well. You can also think of setting up conditions for metta to arise. We all have things that are naturally open the heart, and it's good to spend time around those. I have a friend who, whenever we go for a walk and we see a dog, she just lights up, and her heart just kind of opens up. You may have a person in your life that you feel very easeful around. It's just very easy to have metta come forth of that with that person. You also might think about setting intentions. I had this from a teacher one time that I liked quite a bit. And he told me that I have one job tomorrow, and that is to make someone smile. And I really enjoyed that. It's eminently doable. You can think about setting aside particular periods of time or particular activities to do metta. I walked to work for many years. It's like a 20-minute walk, and someone gave me the practice of doing metta while I'm walking to work. It turned out to be a really lovely practice. I would just see people on the sidewalk and wish them well, and they would be gone, and someone else would come, and a car would come past, and I would just have this kind of constant stream of beings that I could wish metta towards. You might also think about using the other Brahma viharas. I guess this is not strictly metta, but some people are kind of very attuned to joy and can easily feel joy around another. And some people are very attuned to suffering, and compassion comes easy to them. You can think about that as metta practice as well, or something similar at least. You can also talk about the benefits of metta. I will say for me, there's one that I don't really hear anyone talk about, but it just feels really good, and that's in a way that's immediately motivating to me. It's when those feelings of metta arise, there's a rightness to them. To me, this is clearly the way that the mind should be. We're clearly meant to connect with others and to wish others well. And it's just the feeling itself is very motivating to me. You can think in terms of kama too. Kama or karma, which is a kind of complicated topic, but it's usually the analogy that's given is karma is like planting seeds, right? So you plant a seed, and if the conditions for that seed are right, if the seed has gotten enough water and the soil is correct, that seed might grow. And if that seed grows, it's going to be the same as what was planted, right? If you plant an apple seed, you're going to get an apple tree. You're not going to get a watermelon. And so karma is like planting the seeds. You plant the intention to be kind when you do metta, and the consequences of that are going to be positive because you put in a positive seed, basically. So you can think about doing metta as planting all these seeds that will sprout at some time in the future. Maybe tomorrow or maybe next year, but it's this kind of nice little gift for your future self. Metta is also protection. The kind of backstory to the Metta Sutta that I read from is that during the rainy season, monks would go sit at a retreat. And so this group of monks came to the Buddha, and the Buddha told them to go sit in this particular forest for the rainy season. And they went there, and so the story goes, the forest spirits who lived in the forest were not particularly happy about this, and kind of made all these noises and unpleasant smells and stuff, and they chased the monks out. The monks kind of went running back to the Buddha and asked for another place to go, and the Buddha said, there's nowhere else for you guys to go, but so I'll send you back, but I will give you this protection. I will give you this metta, or this teaching on how to do metta. So the story goes, they went back and they did metta, and the forest beings were all kind of very charmed by their positive energy that they were putting out, and I guess everyone lived happily ever after. But that's like a very metaphorical explanation of a very real phenomena, though. Metta is protective in that when you're feeling metta, that moves you towards a sense of wholeness and completeness. And when you're in that space, you don't need to do all this craving, and you don't need to feel anxiety and fear. And so you just sort of naturally feel less of these things. And so metta is protective from all these afflictive emotions that we have. There's also a list of benefits of metta in one of the suttas. It's, the discourse on the advantages of loving kindness. So there's 11 of them. And the first 3 are, he sleeps in comfort. And this is someone who practices metta. He sleeps in comfort. He awakes in comfort. And he sees no evil dreams. One of the functions of sleep is to kind of go through everything that's happened in the day and process it, in order to form long-term memories. And if your day is full of fear and anxiety and agitation and ill will, it's going to be quite uncomfortable for you while you're asleep, and you're going to have poor sleep. So you have metta, you have less of this other stuff, and you have a nice sleep. Another benefit is he is dear to human beings. If you practice metta, you very naturally act from a place of metta. And it turns out that people really like when you are kind to them, right? So you will be very dear to people. He's dear to non-human beings. I will say anecdotally, I see this sometimes. I've seen this when I'm on long retreat, and metta just sort of comes up quite strongly, often in those periods of time, and it does seem that animals feel differently towards me. Perhaps that's my perception, but the next benefit is that the devas, the kind of spirits, protect me. I can't say I have personal experience of that, but there's a potential benefit at least. Fire, poison, and sword cannot touch him. This is metaphorical. It's kind of what I was talking about earlier in terms of protection. Fire, poison, and sword are metaphors for greed and hatred and some of the afflictive emotions, I think. His mind can concentrate quickly. I'm sure you've noticed when you sit, the mind does not immediately go towards whatever you're concentrating on and stay there without moving to anything else. You are distracted by the hindrances, and metta is an antidote to the hindrances. So if you have a lot of metta, you can concentrate quickly. His countenance is serene. So if you feel a lot of metta, you show that. You project peace. He dies without being confused in mind. Which seems like a wonderful benefit to me. So much of our suffering is our fear around death, and if we know that we're going to have a peaceful death, it seems like it would be quite a bit of weight off your shoulders. And the last benefit says, if he fails to attain arhatship, which is full enlightenment, he will be reborn in the Brahma world, which basically just means you're moving your life to a better place. That's the way I take that. I spoke earlier about your life kind of having an arc to it and being kind of bent around by different forces. If you do metta regularly with diligence, that can bend the arc of your life into a better place. So I would just say life is better in general if you practice metta. You feel better, you treat others better. Others want to be around you, others will care about you more. You won't have so much negative emotion going on in your mind. It's just a better way to be. That's what I would offer. Thank you all.